This movie is so weird, but also not weird enough.
Right. Yes.
Right? You think the power of a Celine Dion song could change the world and make everything better, but that is not the case in Love Again.
I think I might have feelings for someone I've never met.
These texts you're receiving are saying something. It might be crazy, but love doesn't always follow the rules.
Whew. Okay, Love Again. So this is a remake of a German film called like You Have Text or something. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
Text for You.
Text for You. Thank you. I was close. So it stars Priyanka Chopra Jonas. She plays an illustrator of children's books. She is madly in love with her boyfriend. And soon after we meet him, said boyfriend is killed in a car accident. Do we see this car accident? No. We hear this car accident while the camera stays on Priyanka Chopra Jonas's face. It doesn't work. And there's a lot of not working in this movie as we move along. Cut to 2 years later, she is still consumed by grief, but finally forced to move out of her parents' house and back into her Manhattan apartment that she shares with her younger sister. Meanwhile, Sam Heughan plays a music critic for a New York newspaper that has the smallest staff imaginable. And
Three people work there.
Basically, yeah. He's assigned to interview Celine Dion because she's about to launch a world tour. However, do they talk about Celine Dion's world tour? No. She grills him about his love life and tries to figure out why he's such a sad sack. It's because his influencer fiance dumped him at the like a week before they were supposed to get married. Part of how Priyanka's character is dealing with her grief is that she starts sending texts to her dead boyfriend's cell phone number. However, his cell phone number has now been reassigned to Sam Heughan, who's just gotten a new phone for work. Like a normal person would get an anonymous text from a stranger, think, oh, this is spam, and erase it. But no. He is captivated by her tale of woe and her outpouring of sadness, and decides that he needs to meet her. So he starts looking for clues in her texts to figure out how he might encounter her in real life. And he does, and they fall in love. But he knows about the text, and she doesn't know. And is he going to tell her? And what's going to find out when she finds out? And I have literally seen a Hallmark movie with this exact plot.
With the phones?
The
and
phones.
The texts?
Oh, yeah. There have actually been multiple. I've only seen one of them, but this plot's been done a bunch.
Okay.
Because this movie the German movie was based on a novel, so maybe they're all ripping off the novel. I don't know. Anyway.
She's making some money.
I would hope.
It's a good idea. It's actually a really interesting central premise. It's got potential.
It's not a terrible central premise, but boy, the execution is wretched.
Yeah.
For starters, Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Sam Heughan, gorgeous people, zero chemistry.
None.
Not a spark to be found here. Then you have a movie that is shot in London, even though it's set in New York, which gives this whole level of weirdness. Like when they go to the opera, you think, oh, he's going to the Met. No, he's going to some weird place with a little marquee in front and a parking lot. This is not New York. You have Russell Tovey doing this weird American accent, which I think is designed to distract you from whatever Sam Heughan is doing, because we're told he's British, then we're told he's Scottish, and then by the end of the movie, you're like, did he like start the movie thinking he was going to play American and they just abandoned that halfway through? Because his Scottishness comes in and out in a crazy way over the course of the film. Then you've got Celine Dion as herself, and Celine Dion as herself can be really funny and is kind of funny in this movie, and she's sort of the highlight because the two lead characters have more chemistry with her than they do with each other. And so she, as this sort of like international megastar, but who's also kind of a busybody who gets involved with like making their relationship happen, is kind of a weird, funny idea that the movie does not play around with nearly enough. We go into movies like this knowing they're going to be predictable. We know how it's going to turn out. It's like the joke I always tell. I had a friend who used to come over on Sunday nights and for dinner, and he would watch like the first half of whatever that night's Hallmark movie was with me, and then later he would text me and go, how did it turn out? And I would always say, they got together and everything worked out. So we know going in that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
What we enjoy in a movie like this is the journey, is the details, is the jokes along the way, is the character moments, is all the little specific things that get sprinkled in. And the specifics are junk here. Like the banter is not good. like I said, they don't have any chemistry. I never bought them as characters. The side characters who are supposed to be funny are not funny. It's just this is a mess.
This movie is so weird, but also not weird enough.
Right. Yes.
Right? Like, I love the idea of Celine Dion as this like magical fairy godmother.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's not just that her songs dictate what happens to them. The person herself,
she's
physical,
making phone
literal,
calls.
French Canadian chanteuse Celine Dion has nothing better to do than like meddle in their lives. That's a really funny idea. It just, she's such a weirdo and a goofball.
Yeah.
That, like, her delivery is so off that it's fascinating. Like the way she delivers a line. There's some line about how she says he has all the personality of dirty underwear or something like that.
Yes.
And like she like punches the wrong word in that sentence and it comes out really weird. Like just things like that. There's a scene where he like shows up at her rehearsal,
Her sound check,
which is supposed to be at like Barclays Center.
Yeah.
It's not clearly, but she like takes time to go sit on like the big crates, you know, that carry all the equipment, and it says like Celine on tour. She's just hanging out. I laughed out loud. It's so weird. No music critic looks like this guy. He's like Scottish Tom Brady. Like when he takes his shirt off, no journalist in any field, regardless of your beat, has time to go to the gym like that. You might work at Men's Fitness or Men's Health and still not have an 8-pack like that. It's so dumb. When he took his shirt off, I laughed out loud.
And of course, we see his torso in the classic L-shaped sheet of a romantic comedy, where it's up to her, like right under her armpits, but like down at his crotch.
It is so funny. Yeah, they have no chemistry at all. Also, like as a music critic, shouldn't he know more about Celine Dion? She's not some scrappy little indie darling. She's like the biggest freaking megastar on the planet. Like,
there's even a 33 and a third book about her. So even if you're like a music hipster, you should have some awareness.
Nothing about this movie makes any sense. So yeah, there's a couple moments here and there that I might have laughed, but I kept waiting for it to get weirder because it occupies this really surreal kind of middle ground between being like a campy comedy and also like a really serious, like it's trying to be a really serious, heart-tugging drama about grief and trauma and redemption. And I kind of really liked the idea of the missed cell phone connection. Like, how many times do you get texts or like the wrong number, they're calling the wrong number? Like the idea that you might have some cosmic connection because there was a rainstorm that night and like lightning bolts helped coerce this magical connection happening. There is a cameo. This is not a spoiler. He's in the trailer.
Yeah.
Nick Jonas is in this as a guy that Priyanka Chopra Jonas goes on a date with, like a Bumble date or something like that.
Right.
Like that is also one of the better parts of the movie because he's actually not a bad actor and he has way more presence than like either of the stars.
He's fine. He gets to breeze in and like be a dick. Like the character is awful and it's funny and it's over quite quickly. I mean, the thing about the setup is that he knows about her text and she doesn't know that he knows. And so it's your classic like shop around the corner.
Yep. You've got mail.
For the youngers, you got mail situation. And there are a million ways to play that out and to like make him culpable or not culpable or like understand why he's not saying anything because he loves her too much or, you know, and this movie just kind of bobbles all of them.
She like walks out the door. She's like, okay, bye now. I know this awful thing. Bye. And like,
yeah. Like he barely even, for somebody who writes for a living, he has no way of like explaining in the moment, like what he was about or what he tried to do. And then the way that he gets himself out of that hole is, again, even by Hallmark standards, like, oh, come on.
It's so corny.
Yeah.
It's so implausible. Anyway, this is probably one of the worst movies I'm going to see all year. And yet it's also weirdly fascinating. So I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I give it a 2.5 just for Celine. But even with that, I kept thinking about how much I would rather be watching Aileen again. Like it needed that level of weirdness.
Totally.